In 1945, working with the newly formed United Nations, President Truman funded relief efforts in Europe. He sent General Douglas MacArthur to defeated Japan, to demilitarize that former enemy, and then help build a democratic government. The United States would pour aid into Japan, giving food, clothing, medicine, and other supplies.
The leadership of the free world, that's the role of the United States. And if they go at it right, and they will, it will never be lost because we're trying to do the right thing.
Under its leader, Joseph Stalin, instead of taking a part in the post-war rebuilding, Russia was swallowing up the nations of Eastern Europe.
In the background was the growing struggle between two great powers to shape the post-war world. Already an iron curtain had dropped around Poland, Hungary, Yugoslavia, Bulgaria.
Churchill was the first to speak of an Iron Curtain, and that Iron Curtain was Soviet communism. Communism proclaimed itself as a system to spread equality, but in fact, it gave power to a select few and deprived the millions under its influence of individual rights and freedom. People behind its curtain became prisoners of the Soviets. And though Joseph Stalin was mainly interested in securing Eastern Europe, to Churchill and Truman, he seemed out to conquer the world. In early 1947, communist-led revolts erupted in Greece and Turkey. Truman reacted with a fateful speech.
Something had to be done at once, or the Eastern Mediterranean would be taken over by the communists. On March 12th, I went before the Congress and stated our determination to help the people of Greece and Turkey maintain their independence.
Truman's speech, in which he announced a strong new policy against communism, marked the beginning of what would be known as the Cold War.
In 1947, President Truman announced what came to be called the Truman Doctrine, which committed the United States to the containment of communism throughout the world. And in that speech, he used the word free or freedom about 25 times. And indeed, during the Cold War, the notion of the free world came to the fore. We were defending the free world. Our freedoms were in contradistinction to the lack of freedoms in the communist world. Unfortunately, any division of the world into two parts tends to overlook a lot of gray areas in between. To say that everybody who is on our side is part of the free world and everybody who's on the other side is part of the slave world ignored many violations of freedom within the free world.
In 1948, Truman launched an ambitious new plan to send billions in American aid to our allies in Europe to help speed up the rebuilding of those war-torn nations. It was called the Marshall Plan, after Secretary of State George C. Marshall, but it reflected Truman's desire to spread freedom and prosperity.
I have a deep and abiding faith in the destiny of free men. With patience and courage, we shall someday move on into a new era, a wonderful golden age, and do away with poverty and human misery everywhere on earth.
We lack the weapons to defend ourselves. Build, prepare is the cry. Quickly the government springs into action and initiates a gigantic rearmament program. A program designed to make America the arsenal of democracy.
From that moment on, the American empire was in every corner of the earth.
In Burma and Iceland,
We were going to maintain dominance, not just of Europe, and not just of Japan, but of the entire globe.